Mother of Proud Boys leader begs Trump to free her son. Put it up full mass here. So, Enrique, you're in jail and your mommy is begging someone to let you out, but you're a badass. Let's keep that picture up. Zuni Tarrio, the mother of Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys and a chief architect of the terrorist attack that took place on January 6th called the insurrection, has gone public with her plea to President-elect Donald Trump to release her son from prison. Tarrio, now 40, was not in Washington, D.C. that day, but prosecutors accused him of playing a pivotal role in the riot. He was convicted of seditious conspiracy, and rightfully so, and received the longest sentence of all the Jan 6 defendants, 22 years in prison. Quote, President Trump, I think my son and most of those, J6, if not all, deserve to go home with their families. Zuni Tarrio said in an interview with WTVJ, an NBC affiliate of South Florida. Quote, we've suffered long enough. Hell of a quote. We've suffered long enough. Zuni insisted her son is not a violent man. Quote, first of all, the word leader seems to be really far-fetched because there were thousands of people on Capitol Hill that day. Not all of them were Proud Boys, she said. Enrique wasn't even there that day. He was but in the ground. He was not in Washington, D.C. that day. Put up the crowd full mass. Now, let me explain this. While her son, obviously, was not on the scene of the crime, you're looking at a crime scene. While her son was not at the scene of the crime, the others he ordered were. Kind of like how Trump ordered them to go to the Capitol as well. Quote, hundreds have already been held accountable for their conduct on January 6, 2021, and this verdict holds some of the most prominent members of the Proud Boys accountable for their role in trying to prevent the certification of the 2020 presidential election. That's what the U.S. Attorney said, Matthew M. Graves, for the District of Columbia, after securing guilty verdicts for Enrique and for other Proud Boys. Quote, the government's evidence at trial demonstrated the crucial role that these men played and their followers in breaking through the multiple security lines that protected the Capitol. 5 people died within 36 hours of the insurrection, including one protester shot by Capitol Police and a police officer who died of natural causes one day after being assaulted by the rioters. Nearly 200 police officers were injured, and 4 of the officers who responded to the attack took life away themselves, unalived. Zuni placed the blame on law enforcement holistically, saying that while the riot was unfortunate, the, quote, government should have never allowed it. Quote, I don't think anyone honestly likes what happened January 6th, she said. I think the way it happened should not have happened. I think the government could have stopped that in a lot of ways. Novel defense argument here. She's not saying what happened wasn't criminal. She's not saying that they were somehow simply victims of the left-wing media narrative. No, no. She's saying, law enforcement or the government should have stopped them from behaving in criminal ways. That's who we're going to blame here. This is the same crowd that speaks of social responsibility, pulling yourself up by your bootstrap, don't give a damn if you are able to get a job or not, proclaiming that everyone in this country has a fair shake already, while also claiming they do not. In Tarrio's trial, prosecutors reminded jurors of Trump's, quote, stand back and stand by directive to the Proud Boys on stage, September 2020 presidential debate, and said the so-called Western chauvinists were prepared to engage violently in order to keep Biden out of office. Quote, these men did not stand back, Assistant U.S. Attorney Jason McCullough said in opening statements. They did not stand by. Instead, they mobilized. The House committee investigating the Jan 6 attack also concluded the Proud Boys did, in fact, quote, lead the assault on the Capitol. So Zuni said she is hopeful her son will be pardoned soon. Quote, as a mother, it's been horrific, she said. It's a terrible feeling to have a child in federal custody without a real reason. But with Donald Trump hinting that he might pardon at least some of the defendants once he retakes office in January 20, the push has begun for him to make good on that promise. Trump has called Jan 6 a day of love, and it said he could pardon all of the prisoners whom he has referred to as patriots and hostages within 9 minutes of his return to the Oval Office. How can he not pardon them after calling what they did a day of love, calling them hostages and patriots? Donald Trump has a damn mixtape with convicted insurrectionists. It's on Spotify. It's no joke. It's an actual song with Donald Trump. He's still hinting he will pardon them. That's the conflict. It should be for them, but not for those who are part of the cult. You see, Trump can do no wrong. And here we are, a person preaching responsibility for everybody else, downing those who may not have what others have. All of a sudden, says the government is prosecuting and persecuting without just cause. Wosny, the irony of this argument obviously is extreme, but here we are at a point we could have been allies if you would have listened to us in 58, maybe 61. How about 69, 72, or 78? If you would have listened to Black folk at that time, maybe we would have been allies. You would not have been caught up in this mess because your social consciousness would have expanded prior. But here we are. What say you?
I don't think we should be surprised that a mother is begging for mercy for her son. I think that's, that's about the least surprising part about this, that a mom would try to step up and pretend that her son was innocent and never did anything wrong. We've all seen moms do this in the past. I think the most frustrating part about this is the incentives of it, right? Like, if Donald Trump's whole messaging has been January 6th was a joke or a hoax or nothing actually horrible happened, then he has to release some of these folks. Even though what they did was criminal, disgusting, and abhorrent, and these people should be prosecuted and forced to pay for their crimes. In order for him to save face with his adoring public on the right, he kind of has to follow up on this with at least a few of them, like you mentioned, Dr. Richey. It just stinks that that this is going to be the case. Like, not only does Donald Trump get rewarded for the insurrection by getting elected again, but those very people who committed those heinous acts of violence against police, against politicians, against regular civilians are going to, not see justice done unto them. That is, to me, the most horrific part about all of this.
You're right. And once again, the bias will come in policy overall. That's the bigger issue. We'll bring updates as they come.